Hey, what's up everybody? It's the Crypto Ginger here. Just want to take a very quick moment, compile some of the more recent news articles regarding Ripple and XRP, and just show everyone that even as we are going into this new year of 2019, we're still seeing Ripple reach out and grab as many banks and financial institutions as possible, getting them onboarded with using XRP, for example, or even just getting themselves into the Ripple network, connecting to other banks, and quite possibly using XCurrent, which could then lead up to using XRapid, which then we know is making a use case out of XRP, the coin itself. So a lot of that information is still circulating here. I wanted to start off with this article that I find very intriguing because we have heard Ripple and Swift in the past as far as whether or not Ripple is going to either dismantle Swift or take over Swift, or even just simply not even worry about Swift and just take their banks. We're starting to see a little bit more of the latter there, I think, when it comes to the banks that were already partnered with Swift, quite possibly looking at Ripple's products as this future innovation that is going to allow for faster payment settlements. This article here from Daily Hodl is just simply to show everybody in the public that Ripple and Swift are going to be coming back at it again when it comes to a debate at a future conference in Rust, Germany, I believe on the 13th and 14th of February again of 2019. Now, this is going to be on the topic of crypto and the futures of cross-border payments. And what we show here in this article is that Ripple's global head of banking, Margin Delantine, and Swift's global head of banking market, Wim Raymaker, will offer their perspectives on the future of cross-border payments. A little bit more in depth here. It's going to actually talk about how will technology affect our daily lives as treasurers, with the banking sector challenged by new concepts and ideas. Are established banking structures going to be turned on their head? Swift and Ripple take a look at the future of global money transfers and purpose that their specific concepts are set to replace all approaches. What will the future look like? Well, that's a very interesting question there. I do think that this right here is going to be also a very interesting little conference taking place here. Nothing that we probably haven't already seen when it comes to Ripple and Swift in their previous conferences that they've been attending together. But I do think that when we start hearing a lot more of the banks onboarding themselves with Ripple and Ripple Network, it is quite possible that we're going to start seeing even more of the Swift banks looking at Ripple's products as a way for them to onboard themselves for a future way of faster payment settlements for cross borders. I think that's the biggest talk right now when it comes to cross-border payment settlement solutions, whether or not these banks from Swift might be able to take advantage of what Ripple has to offer with their products such as XCurrent and, more importantly, XRapid, which does make a use case out of XRP. If that is the case, we could easily start seeing a significant amount of these banks looking at Ripple as the best alternative, going from this old messaging system designed by Swift to this new innovative fast-paced system designed by Ripple that allows for cross-border payments to be settled in real time. This is the internet of value. This is the primary focus of Ripple. This is what they are definitely trying to hone in on. So we got to keep that in mind. Again, this is going to be a very interesting conference, and I find it very interesting that this is happening here right alongside of the talk of CEO Brad Garlinghouse, again, having more banks and financial institutions onboarding themselves here. As a matter of fact, here we have an article from CCN that talks about that very notion, where we have the CEO of Ripple, which is Brad Garlinghouse, talking to the critics already after having obtained roughly around 200 clients to let them all know that banks will be using XRP. Now, this is a pretty big announcement here, and of course, it's something we've been looking forward to hearing from Brad Garlinghouse, but we would like to see this as a use case. We'd like to see this go into effect, because once that does happen and we start seeing the circulation of money going through things such as XRapid and XRP, then we know that the XRP price point is possibly going to be heavily affected by this here. A couple of things here in this article. It does talk about some of the additional expansions and some of the additional companies that have onboarded themselves. And again, this is going to the Ripple critics out there to let them know that these banks will be using XRP. I find it very interesting that previous announcements have let known, at least to the public, that banks that tested XRapid stated they saved anywhere from 40 to 60%. Why wouldn't all the banks and financial institutions out there want to save that kind of money when it comes to transferring money back and forth, whether it's cross-border or whether it's just simply from one bank in one location to another bank in that same location? That is the primary thing that Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple are trying to do, is create this huge internet of value that allows for money to be transferred back and forth in real time using things such as XCurrent, XRapid, and of course primarily using XRP as a means for that transfer to go back and forth. So you can see that this right here is definitely a hot topic when it comes to what Ripple's trying to do. And obviously, this is not going to be the last time we hear from Brad Garlinghouse when it comes to the critics out there for Ripple and also XRP. So very interesting read. I definitely suggest going through here and getting an idea of, what Brad Garlinghouse is trying to do if you are unfamiliar with that. Again, this is just a quick synopsis of what's happening here. Something else I wanted to quickly go on to as well. So when you start seeing more of the mainstream media such as CNBC displaying information about companies such as Ripple, I think that it's about time for everyone to start paying attention to what's happening, at least on the broader spectrum of things. And here we have an article from CNBC.com talking about how Ripple wants a piece of the global payment system while it fights a cryptocurrency holy war. Now, the article is very interesting as far as how it was written. Nonetheless, the information is still about the same from anybody who is an XRP holder or part of the XRP community. That's not actually relaying too much of the information we already have not heard. This is just something I wanted to show you, that when we're seeing this kind of information on a more public scale, again, if they are looking at CNBC for information and news and they start stumbling across articles such as this about Ripple, we're going to have a lot more of the public looking directly at companies such as Ripple and CEOs such as Brad Garlinghouse. And when they start being alerted as to what this company is doing with these banks, then the public is going to start having a firmer understanding as to what's going to happen with their money. So we're starting to see the public get a little bit more wind of what's happening on the cryptocurrency blockchain side of things. More importantly, the distributed ledger technology side of things. Something else I wanted to quickly end on just as well. So here we have an article from ambcrypto.com talking about how XRP reaches Australia as Flash FX adopts Ripple's cryptocurrency. So a little bit more in depth here, you can see that Flash FX is a payment transfer platform. It just recently announced this launch of its latest cross-border payment solution using XRP, and it is targeted to improve the concept of foreign exchange in Australia. We can see that the chief executive officer of FlashFX recently stated that we are excited to be part of the evolution in international payment processing. It's about time that consumers and businesses saw a meaningful change in how money is sent across borders. The service provides an alternative for Australians who want to send a payment faster and cheaper than banks currently provide. Then, interesting enough, the article goes further to say something about Internet of Value. It actually says here, FlashFX has always worked with the mantra of making cross-border payments simple and effective, at the same time sharing Ripple's vision of the Internet of Value. The company has also said that transmitting money and assets from one country to another should not be a tedious task, but rather one that should be as simple as sending a text message. And that is absolutely true when it comes to sending money back and forth. Most people want their money to be dealt with in real time, whether it's being sent or received. And of course, if you've been someone who has dealt with MoneyGram or Western Union, you definitely know that there's a waiting time, whether it's several days or several hours. There is definitely a waiting time when it comes to transferring money back and forth. And FlashFX has obviously known that this is an issue even in Australia, so they wanted to take the approach of making this a faster process when it comes to allowing for cross-border payments or even just simply payments being transferred back and forth in real time. They understand Ripple's vision of the Internet of Value. So that's something that we need to take in consideration, guys. It's very important that this right here is focused on, because that is what Ripple is striving for. One last thing I wanted to quickly end on here. So while doing a little bit of the research on Ripple and XRP news here, I stumbled across this article from investinblockchain.com, which does ask the question, can the new wave of Ripple customers cause XRP to break above the current trading range? Now, the article kind of goes into more of a technical analysis of the XRP price point, but what it does here in this article is highlight some of the more recent expansions that have happened for Ripple, such as the EuroXM Bank, which happens to be a St. Lucia-based bank, and they recently came out to the public stating that they're going to have XRapid API in their system to automate and speed up their cross-border payments. This is really big because they are announcing that they're going to be using XRapid, or at least the API of XRapid there, again, to process these cross-border payments. Something else I found very interesting, another bank, which happens to be an Islamic bank, just actually announced recently that they're going to be part of the Ripple network. And of course, the Islamic bank that they were actually talking about just happens to be the Kuwait Finance House. That is something that I mentioned in a previous video. Most certainly check that video out, because there's quite a bit of connections being made when it comes to a lot of these expansions, again, that Ripple's trying to make out there, not just in the United States, but of course on a global scale. And we're actually seeing that happen very rapidly here. And when it comes to previous partnerships that Ripple has made with other companies such as Santander Bank, it's definitely good to get a public setting as to whether or not those products actually work for the bank versus that of any kind of competitor Ripple might have. Here we have an article again from dailyhodl.com talking about that very notion there. Santander Bank bank says Ripple's payment network outperforms cross-border competitors. And really it's just talking about how when Ripple actually came in and partnered with Banco Santander, they started using Ripple's X Current for their OnePayFX, and of course they showed that it was a very big success for them. They specified here that with the new initiative that is already in place, we actually are covering 50% of all the FX payments that Santander Group does annually. And it works really well because the rails that we're using, which, as you say, we've collaborated with Ripple, we've been testing those for 2 years actually with our own employees. And it works. It's safe, it's fully compliant, and obviously we've made sure we comply with all local regulations. So you're in safe hands. So again, we just have a little bit more confirmation when it comes to Santander here, talking about the principles and processes behind using Ripple's products. And of course, as you can see with this kind of information here, especially coming from Santander Bank, having already experienced the use of Ripple's products, this is going to help Ripple, especially when it comes to their expansion to other banks and financial institutions out there. And hopefully we'll start seeing a lot more going into at least the Q2 of 2019, where we start seeing a lot more development with Bakkt and Fidelity, and of course ErisX as well. So once all that starts coming into fruition and we start seeing the cryptocurrency market open up to that, we could start seeing a lot more acceleration happening for Ripple and the XRP coin as well, and especially Ripple's products getting out there in the hands of banks and financial institutions on a global scale. Let me know what you guys think about this information here. I'll leave a link in the description for these articles. I just wanted to quickly get this information out there to show you that Ripple is on the verge of expanding out really on a global scale faster than what most people are probably anticipating. Outside of that, thank you for watching, guys. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and of course take advantage of that Ledger Nano S link in the description so you can secure your cryptocurrencies. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.